Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm hoping that you are dry and safe today after we endured the first round of storms, and as more rain continues to fall and we see more rain coming in the future, I'm hoping that you're safe, and we look forward to seeing you this Sunday. But not being able to gather last night put us at a little bit of a disadvantage because I didn't get to see your smiling faces. And you didn't get to see how excited I was to be able to present to you today the things that are going on our campus. Now, you guys have already heard the good news that we are putting a new roof on our facility. Yes, I said good news because the reality is even though it feels like a burden, you've been in ministry long enough that you have worn out one roof. And your ministry is continuing in a manner that you say, it is important for us to continue and put on a second roof. God's word outlasts time. God's word outlasts dust. God's word outlasts roofs, as we are proving. And as we also know, it outlasts air conditioners. It is the season. But God's word also outlasts many other items. And that is one of the things that I want to come talk to you about today. Now, the first thing is this, is I know that in the fall, we came to you with the roof issue. We said, hey, we need at least $900,000 to do this. But we have a lot of other things on campus that we want to do. And we're going to come back to you in the spring with a good, a better, and a best plan. And that's what we set out to do. And when we started putting together good, better, and best, we went and sought the advice and counsel of people who have done this before. And their advice was this: hey, the number one things that capital campaigns fail is because they don't stick to the task at hand. They don't just come in and say, hey, we need to do maintenance on our building, so here's the maintenance projects. They don't just come in and say, hey, we need to do improvements on our building, so here's all the technological advancements we want to do. They don't stick to that. They don't come in and say, no, we want to do an expansion and we want to build a building. What they do is they come in and they say, well, we need to repair this, we need to improve that, and we need to build this. And what happens is there's no momentum in any direction, and we can't all get behind one thing. Guys, I have to confess to you that in my good, better, and best, there was hopes of putting together technological advancements. There was hope in making shifts and changes on campus. There was even hopes and talks about what could we build to help serve our community. And as we sat in that room, and they said, here's the 3 biggest mistakes they made. I'm like, I made mistake 1. I made mistake 2, I've made mistake 3. The reality is, we need to take care of a whole bunch of maintenance issues. The reality is, we have a lot of things on campus that we have to shore up first to ensure that our ministry, that the ministry of Christ Little Rock continues beyond this generation and beyond the next generation, so that someone else gets to stand up here 30 years from now and say, guys, we need a new roof. But we don't want that to happen for 30 years. So I thank you for your support in standing behind the roof, and I hope that when you hear the improvements that need to be made and our request to increase that number that you have already promised us and only increase it by another $600,000, I know it sounds like a lot, but when you see our campus and the things that need to be done, you will understand. So the first thing that I want to walk you through today as we talk about foundational issues is I want to talk to you about the carpet and the tile in our building. Now, I know if you walk in right away into the community room, you're going to notice that yeah, right outside the coffee center and walking into church, this carpet looks pretty good. Yes, that carpet looks pretty good. However, you don't have to walk very far to start noticing that indeed there are carpets that have stains all over them. You're going to notice that the stains move, that the stains don't just stay in one place, that they exist all over. And as you're walking down and as kids are playing in it, they see those, and parents see their kids playing in what may have been cleaned, what may have been vacuumed, but dirty carpet. And if the stains weren't enough, inside our classrooms, we have carpets that have whole runs missing in the middle of them. We have tufts of carpet that pop up, runs that go under desks that are trip hazards, that are unsightly when we take parents into the rooms, when kids are seeing this and telling their parents, this is not the kind of carpet, the kind of foundational layer that we want in our school. And it's not just in one room. It's in all our rooms. Now, a lot of them have done a great job. And you'll see that some of these runs are almost hard to see. It's because as soon as the runs start, our teachers have to take super glue and put it back down and try to step on it and hold it together. We are literally trying to hold this together with duct tape. But you're going to notice that it goes throughout. Now, some of this we can eliminate in the way of what the type of carpet that we use. And so the nice thing is we're looking at using carpet squares. Carpet squares make it nice and easy that when we have a run in one, when we have a stain in one, we buy extra. And then we go to our extra color lot. We tear up that one simple area, and then we turn around and we say, boom, replace it, and we're good. The last place of carpet that I want you to see is our library. Now, it looks like it's a warm, sunny day with the sun shining in and illuminating the carpet, except that was taken on a cloudy, sunless day. That's the stain that exists in our library. Now, I know that the library is one of our best places to be able to take parents when they come, because libraries are a thing that are disappearing out of schools. And parents over and over marvel at the fact that we still have a library on campus, but then we say we care about it so much that our carpet looks like this. And if it's not the carpet that gets you, it's going to be the tile. This is down in our elementary wing. This is actually in our kitchen. Our kitchen has this spot where we are literally wearing through the tile, layering down that it is at another level, and it looks like we dropped a bowling ball right in the middle of it. In our cafeteria, we have cracks up and down the outsides. Down our hallways, we have cracked tiles that run through the middle of them. They exist in every wing that we have. We have tile that is bulging up and causing doors not to be able to open, where previously our response wasn't to fix the tile, it was to shave down the door. But the tile just kept coming up. And so now we're looking at how we can fix that. We have waves in the middle of our elementary wing. We have more cracks, more missing pieces. Showing the underside of the tile in the middle of an otherwise beautiful hallway and classroom is just a stain on any tour that we are able to give. When we are wanting people to understand that we give the highest quality education we have and that we have top-notch teachers, the thing that they see on the tour says, but did you invest even in what my kids are going to be walking on what they're going to be playing on? We do not want to present this picture. And so we are looking at replacing the carpet, replacing the tile, and we want to put down LVT. We want to put down carpet squares. So that way when an issue arises, we can replace them and keep our school looking top-notch. Keep our church looking top-notch. So when visitors come and see, they see pristine tops. They see pristine carpet. And they know that we care just as much about the maintenance of our church, of God's house, as we do the people who are coming in here. And I know that sometimes you sit there and you go, well, how much carpet and how much tile do we really have? We have 30,000 square feet of carpet on this campus. We have 8,000 square feet of tile on this campus. And so this is not a project that we're going to say, hey, let's do this and we'll start on Monday and we'll be done on Friday. This will be a project that takes us a significant amount of time and probably have to do it section by section as we make the improvements. But the foundational piece of just carpet and tile isn't the only thing. We have other things that are going to happen on campus that you're going to notice, but you might not always pick up on them right away. And so some of those things that you're going to see are that there's a house that is up on the property that we own just to the north of our facility. It is affectionately dubbed around here the Scary House. And at first I thought, oh, it's the Scary House because it's the house up on the hill that nobody lives in. And then I went to visit it. It's called the Scary House because there's holes in the floor, because the doors don't lock, because the windows have been busted out, because we use it as a storage facility, but we don't know if what's stored in there is actually going to be there the next time we go up. We don't know if there's going to be snakes in the building. We don't know if there's going to be someone sleeping in the building. We don't know if the desks are still going to be there. And so we would like to knock that house down. We'd like to get rid of the Scary House and make it no longer scary. We want to be able to have that land to be able to do things on it that we have yet to dream of how we can help our community and what's next. So the first step would be removing that so that way we can make that area flat, and that way we can also make sure that nobody steps into the hole of a floorboard, that nobody gets scared by a snake, gets scared by somebody who's sleeping up there. And that way we can start to build a better campus for tomorrow. The other thing is that safety and security are paramount. And so one of the security things that we are looking at is back by our music room. In our music room, we currently have a door that looks like this. Now, that door you look at and you go, well, it seems like it's fine. It does, except for the entire locking and latch mechanism is currently being held together literally by tape. So we're going to at least need to replace all the guts of the door. But if there was ever an issue in that hallway, you can't see down that hallway. All of the other interior doors look like this. They're glass doors. It makes it so that if we ever did have a situation where there was an intruder, you would have visible sight lines from all areas. There wouldn't be a safe refuge that a shooter could take. We want to make sure that we don't have any issues with intruders, and we want to make sure that we provide the safest possible campus. And so we want to replace these doors with doors that look like this. This would be back again by the music room and by the library to provide safety within that hallway. The other thing that I want you to think about when we're talking about safety is what happens right outside of our very own sanctuary. These tiles are a beautiful color, and they provide a great contrast to show that indeed, yes, this is the entering of where our church is. The downside of them, if you have ever walked on them when they get any moisture at all, whether it's after a heavy rain or whether it's a very humid morning, as soon as there is an ounce of moisture on them, I feel like I'm back up north and playing hockey. We are skating around on the top of these tiles. And for the number of times that we have our littles come over, this is a significant slips, trips, and falls hazard. And it's not just for our littles who come over every single week to chapel. It's also every Sunday morning when we're entering. You'll notice that I am out there most mornings welcoming folks. Part of it is because I do want to welcome you, and the other part of it is I know what a hazard that could be, and I don't want anyone to slip, trip, or fall. So we would like to replace that tile, which is very slick and somewhat dangerous, and we'd like to remove it. We'd like to grade it so that the water does not pool out there, and we'd like to put concrete on it so that way we don't have that same kind of an issue as we move forward. We can still designate that area with rugs and mats to make sure that people know, and we can make sure that we are all being safe in this foundational issue. Now, once you come on our campus, once you're here, we'd like you to stay for a while. And after you've been here for a little while, you might find that you need to go visit the little boys' room or the little girls' room. Now, the hope would be that when you would walk in there, you either would be blown away or not even notice our bathrooms. I'm not sure that that's the case for us. You see, because when you go into our bathrooms, you're going to notice that there, again, is some rough tile work. There's missing tiles. There's dirty and disgusting grout that needs to be removed. There are sinks that literally have 4 and 5 cracks all the way across them. But we've been trying to make it work. We have stalls that have blemishes, that are warped, that are bent, that are broken. We have walls that have things missing, and we have tile that is absolutely just gone. These are not the bathrooms that when a parent comes to visit the school, they walk into and go, "Ooh, these are nice." These are not the bathrooms that you'd want your kids to have every single day as they're here for 8+ hours. But they're not the only bathroom. The other bathroom we're talking about is the office bathroom. Now, the office bathroom is not missing tile. It is not missing anything on the walls. The sink is fantastic, and the toilet is perfect. The problem in the office bathroom is that the pipe underneath it has corroded, and we need to bust down into concrete, and we might have to go as far out as 15 or 20 feet. What looked like we thought we'd call a plumber and we might have to pay a couple $100 to fix and have back up is really looking like it's going to be closer to a $10,000 or $12,000 fix. And I know you're probably saying, well, does pastor really need an office bathroom? No, pastor does not. Pastor is doing just fine walking across and using any of the other ones we have. But you see this picture. This is in the office where our tours come. This is directly in the office where every prospective parent walks by. This is in the area where when kids are waiting to be picked up after school, when we have people who are coming over and waiting for meetings. This is the bathroom we would take them to and let them use. It's the one they see when they walk down the hallway. And it's embarrassing to say, oh, no, we can't use that one. We have to walk out here and use the junior high bathroom, or we have to walk over to the church and use those. We need to fix this for our overall transparency and showing that we are taking care of our things for prospective students, for prospective parents, and for our parishioners when they come into the office. The other thing that we have that is also a safety issue, not only is it the bathrooms, but it has to do with the transportation of water, is a wonderful thing called a French drain. Now, I heard about that, and I pretty much just thought it was the way that a plumber is going to charge way more money for something because they're calling it French. But what I've learned is it actually has to do with the way that water drains and it comes back in. Now, right now, we have a problem over in our second grade classroom, in our toddler 2 classroom, where after a rain like last night, part of the carpet is wet inside. And we've looked, we've searched the walls, and we've searched the ceiling, and it has absolutely nothing to do with any of those points. And it has everything to do with our foundation. The foundation doesn't need to be raised, but currently our water seeps back into the building. It slides right back up against us. That's what you see in this picture, is it's that line going down that we would install a French drain on, that water would go into, and then it would be carried out beyond the playground so that it wouldn't cause any more of an issue when kids are playing, that it wouldn't cause any more of an issue in the classrooms. Having to tell kids they're not allowed to go over to a corner of the room because the carpet is wet, frankly, is unacceptable. It's embarrassing to have that be something that happens within our school. And I'm sure this is the first time that many of you are hearing about this, but we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We have to do the right thing and take care of these. When we don't, we see that the outside of our building is getting rotted away because we're not doing the work the right way. And so I hope that you see how much we need to do these things. Now, the last pieces of what I want to talk to you about today are not security things. They're not even bathroom things. The things that I'm talking to you today about are some safety things. Because if you've noticed outside, we have 3 wooden crosses as you come in. When you park on the church side of the property, not the gym side, but the church side, you'll notice that there's 3 wooden crosses in the middle island. Now, when I saw them, I thought, man, those crosses don't stand out very well. It would be great if we could paint them so that they stick out a little bit more and people see them. Let's make sure that they really pop and we have that idea and we hold that tradition of the 3 crosses on the hill of Jesus between 2 thieves. And when I told that to Pastor John, he kind of laughed and goes, you ain't going to do that. I said, well, somebody's going to get mad. He goes, no. He goes, that wood is rotten. And I went up next to it, and that wood is some of the roughest, most rotted wood that I have ever seen. When you go up next to these guys, you can see that there's notches missing from the top, that it is a well-weathered and well-worn look. You can see that boards are separating and bowing, and you can see that, thank goodness, we haven't had a kid run up there and grab these with their hand, because they would walk away with more splinters than they would if they hugged a porcupine. We want to take these and we want to do something a little bit different. And so after we thought that, well, we'd have to replace the whole cross, the thought became, well, when I talked to folks, they didn't even know where these crosses were. Because a lot of times, unless you are parked right up next to them and walk down looking at them, you don't see them. When you're driving into church to drop off a kid for the early childhood or driving in to pick up your child from K through 8 and using the drop-off lane, you're in line with them, so you don't actually see the crosses. You don't see their meaning and their focus. And I'd like for that to change. And so one of the ways that I would like for that to change is I'd like to remove those 3 crosses. And I'd like to move them over to the corner where the flagpole is. Now, that flagpole is gorgeous, and it is tall. But the flag that we currently fly on it could fly on a flagpole half that size. But we can't fly a bigger flag because it's right next to the tree and the building, and it would run into it. So I'm proposing that we swap the flagpole over to where the crosses were and put the crosses on the corner. That way, every single person who comes into this church, every single person who drives in to drop off, who drives in to pick up, and who comes into our parking lot will see the corner that will have our name of Christ Little Rock on it and have the 3 crosses which constantly remind us of the price that Christ paid for us. Now, I am aware that if we move the flagpole over, that there is a crepe myrtle right in the middle that could cause us some problems. And I want you all to know, I am aware of what happened the last time we removed a tree. And you will see that your pastor did not come in and cut anything down. I went and I talked to the garden club. I went and talked to them about, hey, do you guys think this would be a good idea? Would this? And the response that I got from the garden club was they were excited. They were excited because, 1, they didn't care about that crepe myrtle that was right there, but 2, because they saw that same space where the flagpole currently is and thought, we don't have anything over here. It would be nice if we had a decorative feature, if we had something that could spruce this up. And the idea of a sign and 3 crosses was wonderful for them. And they were excited about the idea of moving the flagpoles back over to that middle island where we'd be able to fly the United States flag, we'd be able to fly the Arkansas flag, and we'd be able to fly the Christian flag all at once. And we wouldn't have to decide whether or not we wanted to fly the Arkansas flag or the Christian flag at our church and our school. The other thing that we want to do as we are moving forward here is there is some stuff on Sunday morning that while we have tried to shift and move and make accommodations, we've also had some hardship that has come in. And so on Sunday morning, sometimes getting coffee for 10:30 has proven to be a little bit of an issue. And only because we don't want to interrupt Bible study. And as a pastor, I'm very thankful that we don't want to interrupt Bible study. But as a Lutheran, I also know how important our coffee is. And so we want to make sure that we are presenting the best possible scenario for what our Sunday mornings look like, for what our services, for what our extra services look like. And so we want to take the nook right now that is for Coates and for the library, and we want to turn that into the coffee nook. The good news is we don't have to run any extra piping because it already backs right up to the bathrooms that already has drains and water supplies. And quite possibly the best news in wanting to do this would be that, well, one, it would allow us to have coffee come right out and still be served at the coffee nook. It would just be from making coffee in there. We'd still bring it out and serve it at our stand. But we would have a hot water heater that would get put in right there. And that hot water heater would not only supply water to the coffee nook, but it would supply hot water to the men's and the women's bathroom. Now, I know it's spring and you don't care as much about it, but if I had told you we could have hot water in there in December, you guys would be running up writing checks to put on the altar right now. But then the last piece is that many of you have known as we've been looking and trying to figure out what to do with the cabinets in the fellowship hall. In the fellowship hall, we have that wonderful serving space. We don't do a lot of cooking in there, but we have all of this space that maybe wasn't being used in the best possible way. Now, we had a generous gift that was given by a donor. They said, hey, I'd love to be able to cover the cost in redoing the cabinets. But we didn't want to just keep it at the cabinets. We wanted to do the whole remodel. We wanted to do the coffee nook. We want to look at doing the countertops. We want to look at doing it the right way. And so I talked to them and I said, hey, would it be okay if we rolled that money into the capital campaign and we could have this be part of it? So that way, not only would we be doing all these other things that, let's be honest, we're not going to see a whole lot when we come in here, but we'd also have something that we would see and it would improve our daily lives. And they said, yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. Absolutely move that money over. And so we were very excited that we're able to do that, and we're looking at how that's going to look going forward. We're looking at the organization within that closet that's in there right now in the fellowship hall, because if you've ever been in there, trying to find stuff is not always the easiest. And we want to make sure that we're not just doing the quick fix. We want to make sure we're doing the fix the right way. Quick fixes put Band-Aids on things and cause bigger problems down the line. We want to make sure that we're doing it so that the fellowship hall isn't a question for the next 30 years, that the coffee nook isn't a question for the next 30 years, that the carpet and the tile isn't a question for the next, let's hopefully say 10 years. That when we are trying to make sure that our building is the securest and safest building, that we don't have to worry about that for the next 20 years. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you about that's on our list is a security upgrade. As many of you have noticed, last year we were able to get a security grant, and we have key fob access to all of our outside doors. The goal is a 3-part series that would allow us to do all the outside doors. That was step 1. Then we want to do the interior courtyard doors and the gym. That's step 2. And then step 3 would be to do all of the doors in the building. And you might be asking me, Pastor, why is it so important that we have key fob access? It's just like putting a key in the door. In some ways, you're right, but in other ways, you're wrong. Because with key fob access, when we need to lock down the campus and lock every room, we can make sure every room in the building is locked in an instant. And if somebody is on campus that we know is a problem, but they have a key, I don't have any way to remove that key from their hand except to go and take it from them. If they have a key fob that they think they're going to move around the building in, we can remove access on that key fob and instantly take away any ability that they have to move anywhere on campus. That's why the second phase of doing the interior courtyard is so essential, because that will segment off all the wings and prevent any unauthorized access to parts of the building that we don't want anyone in. Now, it's sad that we live in a day and age where this is a conversation that we're having, that when we are having to say, hey, we need to make sure that we can secure areas of our building for our kids and to make sure that they are being safe. But my friends, that's the world we live in. That's the scary world that we're raising these kids in. And the last thing that they should have to do when they step on this campus is worry about whether or not they're safe. They should be focused on learning. They should be focused on knowing who this carpenter from Nazareth was and why he loved them so much that he sent people into this world that would build this church, that would build this school, that would build this early childhood center just so that they could be taken care of and just so that they could be raised. Now, I know we've talked about a lot of things, and the brass tacks comes down to this. At the end of the day, we're talking about $900,000 for the roof, and we're looking at probably a little bit less, but pretty close to $600,000 to do all of the other projects. What I am asking from you all is I'm asking you guys to authorize us to take out a loan of up to $1.5 million to do all of these projects. Now, I thank you for the support that you've shown us in the need for the roof. You've seen the roof and the rain and all of that, and if you want, come on campus, I can show you where we've seen it today. But to make sure that the next time we say, hey, we want to do a capital campaign, we want to start to think about how we can serve our community, we don't have to say, well, we'd love to serve our community, but we have $1.5 million in projects just to make sure that we continue to function on a day-to-day basis and make sure this ministry goes into the next generation. Because guys, what I want you to be doing is when we're on this campaign, as we're going down this path, I want you to start dreaming about what is next for Christ Little Rock. We have been given a gift. We have all of that Fox property that we have owned for years. We have all the property that the Scary House sits on. We've owned it for years, and we use it twice a year. Now, Egg Dash is phenomenal, and it's a wonderful event, and Trunk or Treat is huge, and it's a place where the community can come and rally, and we've seen that the community comes. But the real question is, how can we use that property? How can we be good stewards of the land that God has given to us to serve our community, to start making disciples that are rooted in grace, love, and lifelong learning, that come here to know who this Jesus Christ is? Because guys, after we secure our foundation, we're able to look at what comes next. What can we do when we hear that Baptist Preschool has closed and we know that there are 100 families who need room in preschool and early childhood care? We'd love to open our doors and take them in. But we've got a waiting list of over 70 already. And we have to do all these things just to make sure that we can stay afloat. Imagine if we had taken care of these already and we could look at it and say, should we build a bigger early childhood center where we know that we could take in 70 people? Imagine what it would be like if we looked at the Fox property and we're dreaming and said, what is it that our school and our community needs to take us to the next place? And we started talking about a community center where we could gather people, where people could come in and walk, where they could get their exercise, where the community could meet. But we can't do any of that until we shore up the foundation of our own house first. But just because we're shoring up the foundation doesn't mean we can't start to dream. Doesn't mean we can't start to have the conversations. Doesn't mean that we can't start talking to our community about what they need. And so, guys, while I'm asking you to support doing these things and to come out and help us make sure that we are securing the foundation for the future, I'm also asking you to dream. Because God doesn't come in and say, okay, that's good, you guys got your foundation, you're set, I'm happy with you, rest. God says, good job, good and faithful servant. Now here's this. We see over and over as they come into the Holy Land, they take the land and they don't just rest. Then they go and take the next, and they do the next, and they move on to the next. David didn't just come in and conquer one land and call it good. He went on to what God had him do next and next. When we see the disciples, they didn't go and preach in one town and go, well, we did good. One synagogue believes in Jesus, we're set. They went to the next and they served. And this question starts to become, what is next for Christ Little Rock? Let's secure our future for today so that way we can start to dream about what's next for us. And now, I want to address what I think a couple of questions would have been if we would have ended the presentation there on Wednesday night. Because if I was sitting there, I'd be raising my hand and I'd say, okay, that's good, but why does the church have to do all this? How come the church is the only one who's taking care of all of this? It shouldn't just be the church. And you're right. And it's not just the church. So the good news is the church already has $133,000 in the roof campaign right now. It's a great start. And the best news is when we went and talked to PALS about partnering with us to do this, PALS said, great, we're going to give you $55,000 to help that go up. So we have $188,000 sitting in the bank today moving towards this project. And after we have the 188 that's already sitting there, both the school and the early childhood have put in building funds into their fees for school. And those building funds go directly towards this. Those building funds are looking at $500 per kid per year. All of that is going to help these improvements. So no, the church is not doing this alone. The school and the early childhood are in this all. It is one team, one mission, one foundation. We know that Christ has put us here. We know that Christ is over the church, He is over the school, and He is over the early childhood. We know that He is our one foundation, and we trust in Him. Yes, Pastor Matt, question number 2. Well, we might not be the only ones, but how much debt do we have? What's our consolidation loan at? Did y'all like my accent so that you saw it was a different person? Our consolidation loan right now sits at $800,000. We've been paying that note down. The good news is we've already talked to LCEF. LCEF is the one who gave us that loan. And LCEF doesn't see that there's going to be any kind of a problem in us being able to get a loan for up to $1.5 million on top of this. They're looking right now to help us out as to whether it makes sense to roll it all into one or whether it would be better to keep the two separate because of interest rates. But they're very excited about partnering with us through this. And we're not just going to talk to LCEF. We're also going to have a conversation with Thrivent, who has a dedicated person to look at church loans. They're coming in on Monday to have a conversation with me and the BSL and some of the elders to be able to look at what is our best financial option. We are not beholden to one person. We're going to do what is best for our congregation. We're going to explore all possibilities. Oh, yes, I see a question in the back. If we're going to explore all possibilities, are we going to explore selling the Fox property? Thank you. for your question, sir. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like selling property. Selling property to me means that you are doing the very last option to keep your doors open. Our doors are open. Our foundation is a little shaky, but we're not having a problem paying our bills. So I don't like the idea of selling property. Now, we did go out and have it appraised, just so that we would know. And I want you to know that it didn't appraise for as much as what we thought. So when we had them look at it, we found out that it was zoned residential, and it was appraised at $500,000. The hard part of that is that even if we sold off all that property, it wouldn't be enough to pay the bills. We'd lose the ability to dream about how we can help our community next. We'd lose our primary space when we have our two biggest community events in Trunk or Treat and Egg Dash. And we still would have to pay things off to get to where, just to try to be comfortable at paying for the foundation. I don't see it as a real possibility of selling that. The other thing that we would be doing if we sold that off is right now, that is the cheapest insurance blanket we have. So that if all of a sudden tomorrow a catastrophe hit us, we could sell that land and liquidate it and bring the money in a dire need. Guys, we've been going on like this for years. We've been going on saying, well, there's nothing we can do about water coming in. Well, there's nothing we can do about tile bubbling up. The truth is, there is. We just didn't do it. We didn't want to pay the cost at the time to do it, and now we're paying the cost on the back end. Let's not make another short-sighted decision and think about selling something that won't even cover our needs and will reduce the impact we can have in this community simply because we don't like this big number that's in front of us. Now, if that number came back at like $3 million, we might have to have a different conversation. But today, I don't see the advantage for it. Guys, the BSL has entered into a lot of conversations on this, and it hasn't been taken lightly. This has been the number one topic of conversation for at least a year now about how this is going to happen, how we're going to make sure the roof goes on, how we can make sure that we secure our next ministry focus. And so we are doing everything we can to make sure that the foundation is set so that we can start looking to the future and what God is doing here. I hope that you will enter into a time of prayer. We pushed the voters' meeting back because we don't want you to just go, oh, well, it's what Pastor wants, we'll say yes. Look, I already know you're not doing it just because I say it. But I want you to enter into a time of prayer. And I want you to think about any questions that you might have. And then I want you to ask them. Don't wait till next Sunday. Don't wait till Palm Sunday to come in and ask a question in the gym. Instead, do me a favor and call me. Do me a favor and email me. Email Brenda. Email Rob Chatham. They are your lay representatives for the church. They're the president and vice president of the BSL. Ask the question early. So that way, if there is something that needs to be addressed, we can address it and we can dig in deeper. If there's a blind spot that we've missed, we can look into it and have a better answer. If you wait until next Sunday, it delays what we can do. We have roofers coming next month. So I'm hoping that after your prayer, after your consideration, after your questions, you will see the prayer and the thought that has gone into this program, and that you will get behind the idea of firming up our foundation so that we can start asking God, what do we do next? Where are you leading us next? Join me in celebrating this. Join me in celebrating the time in ministry that it has taken to wear these items out. And let's look forward to the next years of ministry wearing out all the new stuff we're putting down and in all the memories that God is going to bring into this place. Guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this whole thing. And I look forward to seeing you on Palm Sunday. And look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Don't think you get out of that. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Stay dry, and we'll see you soon. God bless. Thank you, sir. 50 minutes.